So today we're doing a deep dive into one of the most fascinating examples, India's really intricate and delicate foreign policy, specifically how it's balancing giants like the US, China, and Russia. We're drawing our insights here from a recent DW News report focusing on a pretty significant meeting between India's Prime Minister Modi and China's President Xi Jinping. Our mission really is to unpack the pressures, the strategic thinking behind India's moves, get to the why and what it means for everyone else. Okay, let's get into it. Right, so let's set the scene. We're at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, the SCO, in Tanzan. And this was big because it was Prime Minister Modi's first trip to China in 7 years.
7 years, yeah. That's a long time in geopolitics.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just that. You had leaders from Russia, Turkey, North Korea, Pakistan. Quite the gathering.
A key regional hub, definitely.
But the main event for our discussion, really, was the one-on-one talk between Modi and Xi. So what was Modi actually saying? He seemed pretty direct, stating New Delhi wants to improve ties.
Yeah, he framed it quite powerfully, didn't he? Talking about the interests of, 2.88 billion people being linked?
Exactly. Linked to cooperation, paving the way for humanity's welfare. Strong words. And he stressed it needs to be built on mutual trust, dignity, and sensitivity.
And what's fascinating there is how that lands back in India. I mean, the meeting itself, sure, seen positively on the surface, but dig a little deeper. Like DW's New Delhi bureau chief pointed out, and there's this really persistent China skepticism.
Skepticism is putting it mildly sometimes.
But yeah, a lot of people just don't see China as a trustworthy partner in the long run. And, it's not totally out of nowhere.
Right, there are reasons.
Big reasons. The huge unresolved border dispute in the Himalayas, that's always simmering. And China's very, very close ties with Pakistan, India's arch rival. That's a constant thorn. So Modi's message, while sounding cooperative globally, also had a clear domestic angle. The Indian readout emphasized that continued tranquility at the border is, essential for relations to actually develop.
A firm line even while extending an olive branch.
Precisely. A reminder of India's non-negotiables.
Okay, so given that backdrop, the skepticism, the border issues, how big a deal is this meeting? Are we talking a genuine reset in relations, or is that too strong a word?
Reset is probably too strong, yeah. I wouldn't call it a fundamental reset. It feels more like a continuation of defreezing.
Defreezing, okay.
Remember, things got really bad. I mean, rock bottom after those bloody clashes in 2020 in Galwan.
Right, that was incredibly tense. A deep frozen state, I think, was the description.
Exactly, but things started easing up a bit last year. Remember the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia? They met there?
Yes, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Right. And since then, more diplomatic contacts, some practical steps too, like restarting direct flights, reissuing visas, tangible stuff.
So definitely a thaw. A warming trend, maybe, but not a complete change of heart yet.
That's a good way to put it. Not a fundamental shift in trust. Not yet, anyway.
It does sound like a really careful dance they're doing. What about the view from Beijing? How did China portray this meeting?
Well, according to their state media, it was all good vibes. President Xi used some pretty grand language, calling them the world's two great Eastern civilizations. And he brought out that metaphor, didn't he? The elephant and a dragon dancing together, suggesting they should be partners, not rivals.
That's certainly a more positive spin than we've sometimes heard. Partners, not rivals.
Definitely more conciliatory. And apparently the meeting ran overtime, which, in diplomacy, that's often a sign discussions are actually going somewhere.
Interesting. And they mentioned concrete things, too, like the flights and visas you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, practical agreements seem to be on the table, making things easier for travelers, businesses.
Okay, now here's where the timing gets really interesting, doesn't it? This meeting in China happened, just days after the U.S. slapped those huge tariffs on India.
Yeah, massive 50% tariffs on a whole range of Indian exports. Not small change.
Definitely not. And that must have landed badly in Delhi.
Oh, absolutely. The impact was significant, and apparently the U.S. rhetoric around it was seen as, rather humiliating.
Humiliating? How so?
Well, the DW report mentioned things like the U.S. declaring, quote, Putin's war against Ukraine is Modi's war. That kind of language.
Oof. Yeah, that wouldn't go down well.
Not at all. India really values its strategic autonomy, its independence. So that kind of statement feels like pressure, like being dictated to rather than partnership.
And you can bet China saw an opening there.
Oh, immediately. They jumped at the occasion, didn't they? Started calling the U.S. a bully, framing it as American overreach.
Classic opportunism.
But here's the crucial part, and it shows India's careful strategy. Despite the U.S. friction, despite China's overtures, India still sees no benefit in a Chinese-led Global South alliance.
Okay, so they're not jumping into Beijing's arms just because Washington annoyed them.
Not at all. They remain deeply skeptical of China's intentions. They worry about China becoming too dominant.
So what do they want, then?
India's vision is quite distinct. They prefer a multipolar world order, a world with multiple power centers where India can carve out its own safe space by balancing various partnerships.
Balancing, so playing everyone off each other a bit. Or just maintaining options.
More like maintaining options, maximizing their own freedom of maneuver. It's about not being forced into anyone's camp. They want to shape a world where they aren't just a pawn between bigger powers, but a pole in their own right.
That really challenges the old Cold War bipolar thinking, doesn't it?
Completely. It's about asserting India's own path, based purely on its national interests.
Okay, but I have to ask, if they are so skeptical of China, how much can these U.S. tariffs really push them closer? Isn't that risky?
That's the really interesting dynamic, isn't it? The tariffs have undeniably soured U.S.-India ties. There's real friction there now. And some analysts are saying, look, maybe Trump's actions, perhaps unintentionally, have nudged India and China a bit closer, at least for now.
Which is ironic, given the West usually sees India as a counterweight to China.
Exactly. It just shows how actions in one area can have totally unexpected ripple effects everywhere else. It's a delicate ecosystem, this global chessboard.
But India's balancing act isn't just U.S.-China, is it?
Yeah.
There's another huge player involved.
Yeah.
Modi was also set to meet Putin at the same summit.
Right, you absolutely have to bring Russia into the picture. Russia's been a key partner for India for decades.
An all-weather partner is the phrase often used.
That's the one. A trusted, all-weather partner. It's a relationship with deep historical roots. And crucially, something often missed in the West India, sees no contradiction in being friends with Russia or even Iran, while also having a strong partnership with the U.S.
That's the core of their non-aligned approach, isn't it? Keeping doors open everywhere.
Precisely. It underpins their whole multipolar vision. But it's not just history or philosophy driving the Russia connection now.
There are strategic reasons, too.
Definitely. India is actually quite concerned about Russia getting too close to China. They want to keep a check on Russia's deepening ties with China.
Why? Because a strong Sino-Russian bloc isn't good for India.
Exactly. That axis, which has certainly strengthened since the Ukraine war, is seen as a potential threat. If Russia becomes too dependent on China, India loses leverage, loses options.
And then there are the practicalities, right? The things India actually needs from Russia.
Huge practicalities. India is heavily dependent on Russia for energy, oil, and gas, often at good prices.
Crucial for their economy.
And equally important, defense. Russia is still India's biggest supplier of military kit. We're talking fighter jets, tanks, submarines.
Stuff you can't just replace overnight from somewhere else.
Not easily and not cheaply. So that relationship, whatever the West thinks, is a core strategic interest for India. They simply can't afford to walk away from it easily.
Okay, so zooming back out to the SCO Summit itself. Yeah. Beyond the Modi-Xi and Modi-Putin talks, what was the overall vibe? The official agenda mentioned security, trade, energy.
Yeah, all the usual big topics, regional security, economic cooperation, digital stuff. But the sense was, don't expect any massive deals or agreements to come out of this particular summit.
More about the meetings themselves, the optics.
Exactly, especially for President Xi Jinping. Beyond the India meeting, this was about his bigger picture.
He had a packed schedule, right?
Oh, yeah. Talks with Iran, Pakistan, Myanmar, Turkey, the UN Secretary General, showcasing China's diplomatic network. And, of course, the anticipated talks with Putin on energy and Ukraine.
And wasn't there something about North Korea, too?
Yes, hugely significant. Kim Jong-un was there, attending a massive military parade for the end of WWII, his first international trip since taking power. That sent quite a message.
Wow. So for Xi, what was the ultimate goal here?
Well, I think you said it earlier, it was really all about the optics. It's about projecting this idea of global South solidarity.
Bringing developing nations together.
Right, and positioning himself and China as the leader of a new bloc, an alternative to the West, especially as the narrative goes, just as the U.S. leadership looks to falter or seems distracted.
He's building a counter-narrative. A different option on the world stage.
That's the clear aim, a robust, non-Western front.
And thinking about that goal, having India there, even if cautiously, Must be incredibly valuable for Xi.
Oh, hugely valuable. Having Modi on side, the leader of the world's largest democracy, a country known for its independent stance, that adds massive legitimacy to Xi's new club.
It makes the alternative bloc look much more credible, more powerful.
Absolutely. It's a huge symbolic win for Beijing, even if India doesn't fully sign up to China's agenda. Just being present lends weight.
So pulling all these threads together, what's the big takeaway for us watching this? It really sounds like India's walking an incredibly fine line.
It is an incredibly delicate balancing act. It's like geopolitical choreography almost.
Try not to step on anyone's toes too badly.
While pursuing its own distinct interests, you can see the different needs pulling India in various directions. It absolutely needs the United States as its top global partner for tech, trade, strategy.
To deal with that Washington.
But it also needs China, in a way. It's a huge neighbor, massive border, unavoidable economic links. You have to manage that relationship.
Can't ignore Beijing either.
And then, as we discussed, it also needs Russia for energy, for defense. It's fundamental.
So the priority isn't picking a side.
No, the priority is balancing all of them, juggling these vital relationships to create that safe space India wants in a multipolar world. It's pragmatic, it's self-interested, but it has huge global consequences.
It really makes you think. As we wrap this up, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. How do these complex moves by countries like India, these intricate strategic dances, actually shape the global power structure, especially now when old alliances feel strained and new groups are trying to form?
Yeah, and maybe think about what a truly multipolar world even looks like in practice. When the world's biggest democracy navigates its path with this kind of, well, intricate, self-serving, yet globally significant diplomacy, what really stands out to you about this incredible balancing act?